So Greg, you're ahead of us in the storm apocalypse of the last storm of 2022, hopefully.
Yeah.
How are you doing out there on the other side of Lake Erie, or
Well,
mid Lake Erie, right?
no, no. So I'm
Oh,
in
you're here.
Chautauqua
That's
right
right.
now. So we're pretty fortunate because Jamestown is, a good 35, 40 miles in from the lake.
Right.
So we're going to have a nasty day with wind but we're supposed to get like 2 or 3 inches and it's just going to blow all over the place. So, I mean, it's -3 right now and it's windy, but we're not going to get it as bad as you guys do.
Yeah. Right now we are getting. So we've been in so. My morning wasn't fun. Last night when I was like prepping for this storm, I ran some laundry and then noticed after the laundry drain that water was coming up under my water heater. So I
Oh,
had a
God.
clog in my main sewer line. And so I started calling every plumber I knew. Obviously, everybody else is super busy. Same thing happening all over the place. And finally, I was all night till like midnight on the phone with Rotor Rooter. They couldn't get out, and then finally they did. They got out this morning, and it was not
Awesome.
cheap. It wasn't awesome, but it was a Christmas miracle that somebody got out because honestly, as soon as my drain cleared, whiteout came rolling in, and it hasn't stopped yet here in the North Towns, and it's been
I was
about an
going to say, how
hour.
about power for you guys?
Power's on, but so I had to scramble mode after the plumbing incident. I still had a bunch of stuff to do of getting my house prepped with the types of winds were expected. So I was like moving some of my porch furniture to my neighbor's garage and stuff like that. My
Hmm.
gate is locked, frozen already, so I couldn't get it through my gate. And so yeah, no, I was still scrambling, but the wind had already his tree and behind his yard had some huge branches down already. So
Yeah, I know I
and we're like an
saw
hour into this. It's gonna be like another 34 hours.
Leslie from the Bills Mafia Babes. She had power out this morning because of a tree down, and she was saying to shout out to the line crews because their power was only down for like an hour and 45 minutes,
So
and it was already back up.
that's what we're banking on here. Living in a fairly urban area. So being from Maine, we were always worried when the power goes out in Maine. You could be like 8 days, 9 days is typical
Oh,
before like CMP gets to your town. If you live in like a town where people live on dirt roads and stuff, which is very common, it's hard to get out there and pine trees take down lines. Here, they do a really good job in the spring and summer clearing all these lines behind our houses, and so that helps. Maintaining the trees helps, and we don't have pines and stuff like that. And then it is an urban area, and so there is a lot of they brought in extra utility to maintain these power lines. So I do think they do a better job in these high dense population areas. So we're banking on that. I did get a generator though this week in preparation, so I'm trying to be ahead of the curve.
yeah, that's really smart, man.
We'll
I
see.
hope you don't need to use it, but
That's my
it's really
thing.
smart
Yeah,
that you have it.
yeah. It could get nasty. We're looking here for those in the Buffalo area, at least in the North Towns. They're predicting like a half inch an hour up to an inch an hour over the next 12
Oh
hours at
man,
least.
yeah, be safe,
Um,
guys.
yeah, so we'll see, man. And it sounds like the Bills got in
I
safe
was gonna say,
though. Talking about the
yeah, it
game.
sounds like it was smart for them to head out early and to get ahead of this.
Yeah, although I guess some of the videos I saw, like they really must have snuck it in because didn't look pretty in the Midwest all day yesterday. So I'm
Yeah,
sneaking that trip in right down to the last minute.
yes, I'm watching my house on my Ring doorbell, and it's
Yeah.
really hard to tell how much is accumulation and how much is drifting. But I've got like a 3 foot drift in the middle of my driveway, so
Yeah,
there's
and
there's plenty around.
right now, Chicago, Illinois, Midway International Airport Station is reporting it's a -6 in Chicago right now. The snow has cleared out, but I mean, this is going to be a terrible game. They're getting 37-mile-an-hour wind gusts down there right now, and that's supposed to continue in 30 hours or so. The next 30 hours of weather is supposed to be like that, even in Chicago, just windy. Yeah, straight wind. Yeah, so this could be a game. We talk about whether being that equalizer, I've said it on the show, Greg. Like I still think Josh Allen's weatherproof ability kind of disrupts that idea of being an equalizer. But if you're going to have a weather event that does it, it's a game like this, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, if you're going to go against a team that I mean, they're leading the NFL in rushing, 186 yards a game, and they got Khalil Herbert back. So if they're going to go, if you're going to have a day where, hey, both teams have to basically go like wishbone offense, and it's just going to be Justin Fields, David Montgomery, and Khalil Herbert running triple option, I'd like to think that we can still stop that and that we would still be the better team between those. But if you're adding in variables like 30-mile-an-hour winds and negative temperature from a wind chill factor, all of a sudden you're adding in a variance that I don't really want introduced into this game. This is a game where we should comfortably cruise to an easy victory, and I don't want to add in some weird weather variable that all of a sudden now it brings the game into question.
Yeah, for sure. My brother, who was on our show this weekend, if you haven't listened to the Cover One Buffalo preview show, check it out. My brother, Brian Quinn, came on to talk about the Bears. He's a big Bears fan. But he was saying, listening to Equanimous St. Brown, they have a podcast. He and his brother have a podcast. And listening to that, he said this time of year, the hard thing about Chicago is that turf freezes when it's like this cold like that. And he said, of all the surfaces he's played on, that hurts the most. Like getting slammed into that frozen turf when it's just negative 10 degrees is different than getting slammed in even some of the bad turfs that exist out there. So I don't like that. I don't like hearing that. Yeah, here we got some people trying to speak here. We got Kyle Silagyi's in.
Hey, Kyle, what's going on, man?
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
How are you guys?
Are you hunkered down? Are you safe?
So far, but I mean, when it comes to storms nowadays, I'm just like Naheem Hines when he goes back to return punts. I just say, if I die, I die. Let the storm have its way with me, and we'll see if I'm still alive in 3 days.
Hopefully, you're not the one catching the final punt off your face mask.
Hey, well, we'll see what happens. Got to go outside at some point, maybe get some snow in the face. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that's my advice is to anyone in the area, if you can, like now that we've hunkered in, I'm going to do this spaces for whatever, 45 minutes an hour, and then I'm back out. I'm going to be outside every hour just making sure that I can get out of my house. Like it sounds like some of these drifts can get out of hand pretty quick. So we had Nate here. It looked like Nate came on with either a question or comment or something like that. I want to make sure we get him in here before we start rolling with just us Cover One folks here. What's going on, Nate?
How you guys doing?
Man. Welcome.
Good.
We just I'm here in Wyoming last night.
Pretty crazy out there, right?
Yeah, it was negative 40 something.
Jesus Christ.
I saw that one that viral video of the highway patrol out in Wyoming. Yeah. That was insane. Like it looked like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's not good here right now. I mean, almost every damn highway was closed. But anyways, what I was going to say is season ticket holder for the University of Wyoming. I've seen Josh play the most lights out ball of his career in the snow, in the weather, in the elements. And, I feel like as soon as it started snowing last Saturday night is when he just locked in. And I think he'll do it again. And anyways, just somebody that met him, known him for many years, known him as a college kid, as a humble kid, met the family multiple times. He's a rock star, and when it comes to the weather, that's when he's electrifying.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love that perspective, and I agree, man. And we talk about it a lot on our show that I've seen enough of Josh, even back to his college days, but in the sample size in the NFL and in big games against weather. I'm still mad at Brian Daboll in that Patriots game that they didn't allow Josh to throw earlier into that wind, because I do think he could have done it with more success than any other QB. And I think if you've got that going into a weather game, that it negates that idea that weather is the equalizer.
Yeah, so when your arm is that strong and when you throw bullets like that, I mean, you can throw in anything. And so there's been a couple game plans where I'm like, this guy can literally, he's gonna whip it out there. Doesn't matter what the winds are. And we've seen it in a couple games. I mean, again, some of his best games at Buffalo have been 100% wind and snow and everything like that. But I'm excited for the game. I'm pumped. I think I feel bad for the team as a whole playing all these elements the last few weeks, but I think we've got the upper hand. I think our quarterback is the reason why Buffalo drafted up to get him, because he was from a cold community in Laramie, Wyoming, and that's the exact reason they're like, we need a guy that's tough as shit, tough as nails, to come out here and just sling the rock. And I think that's why you guys have become so successful, is because of a good, hard-working, blue-collar guy like Josh.
I agree, man.
Oh, it's great, man. That's great.
We got Whittle.
What's going on?
What's happening, my man?
Hey guys, I was looking for Lamar Jordan. Wanted to see what his assessment was.
I love how petty,
finessey, soft team of after kind of going into these last few weeks and taking care of business, especially on the defensive end, holding teams up 20 points. I don't know, man. I just wanted to see how he felt about the team.
Oh, I mean,
he said he's going to come back to the space.
The funny thing was, Whittle, after he said all that stuff about the running game.
Yeah, I'm on his ass.
We went out against the Jets, though.
On.
Yeah, but that game against the Jets, it played out exactly like he said. I mean, we had like 39 rushing yards from our running backs in that game and 70 or something from Josh Allen, which is basically what his point was. But, he was, a little unfair to the running game. But I thought
we have seen that. I'm frustrated at the lack of flowers that the running game got in putting that game away last weekend. Not in the Jets game, but last weekend. That's all I need out of the Bills running game. I don't need it to be a lights out, dangerous thing other teams game plan for. But when it's time to put together a 4 or 5 minute drive to seal a game away.
Yeah, or a 5 minute, 56-second, 94-yard drive that was half motor. Yeah, that wouldn't bad.
Yeah. We got some other...
Greg, we got the ball. When we got the ball, Greg, it was 6:04. I was at the game. I remember telling the guy behind me, he was insanely drunk. I said, "It's over. It's over. They're never going to see the ball again."
Yeah, to keep it for 6 minutes to end a game is pretty rare in today's NFL. I mean, like it's not completely unseen. But to keep the ball for the final 6 minutes, and we chose not to score a touchdown. They could have punched it in the end zone if they wanted to, but we learned from 13 seconds. We learned from those situations where, hey, the sure victory is getting the game-winning score with zeros on the clock, and they chose their path and kept the ball, and there was nothing that the Dolphins could do about it. That's the kind of thing that you learn from, and whether it's playing in these conditions, the situation they had to work their way through with Detroit, the situation with the Dolphins, those things are going to pay off down the stretch because they've had real reps. And everybody's frustrated how the season ended last year, but all you can ask for is to learn from it. And now we've seen multiple circumstances with literally textbook perfect end of game clock management, textbook perfect 4 minute drive, and that we control the situation and end it on our terms. And that's all you can ask, is that they learn from those situations.
Yep.
We got Michael in here. What you got going on?
Hey guys, I'm out here in the west corner of Clarence. It's blowing a little bit, but there's still visibility around here. Brownouts are happening on and off, and I actually just think I lost power permanently now, but I'm all right for the time being.
Oh man, hope you're safe. Yeah, hope you're safe.
What I did was crank up the heat to about like high 70s, just so that the temperature is going to stay warm for as long as it can. But I just wanted to bring a little historical perspective to the idea of Buffalo versus Chicago. Any of you guys consider yourselves like students of NFL history?
Not a student.
No, for sure. I like some of the messing around. I mess around and get lost in Pro Football Reference sometimes, looking at weird old stuff. So I have my moments where I dig around.
Yeah. Well, does the name Staley Swindle mean anything to anybody?
Oh, Staley Swindle?
Oh, yeah. We're going back to 1921, and there weren't any NFL championship games back then. It was only, standings, and it's basically like the Premier League, whoever had the best record. But basically, the Buffalo All-Americans back then and the Chicago Staleys, as they were then known, ended up with the same record at the end of the year. And there was a lot of things that led to it, like Buffalo had 2 exhibition games planned. One of them was challenged. Chicago challenged them to a second rematch game, which Buffalo had won earlier. Buffalo agreed on the condition that it was only an exhibition game. And you have to understand they were coming from Akron on short rest. Some of their players had been borrowed from the then NFL Detroit Tigers, and they were going to go play a game for Detroit then. And even then, they only lost the game 10-7. They played Chicago tough, the Buffalo All-Americans did. But then none other than George Halas, the owner and coach or whatever, turns around to the NFL and says, hey, that second game counts more than the last game, which we lost, and that should be the de facto championship game. So essentially, Chicago stole an early NFL World Championship away from the original Buffalo NFL team. That's not even half.
I'll tell my brother.
That's not even half of it. The original Buffalo Bills of the All-American Football Conference, which started in 1946, and 4 years later when that league folded and merged with the NFL, so they brought aboard the Browns, the 49ers, and there was an agreed-upon third team to come in, and those Buffalo Bills played the Browns pretty tough. Like I think the last year they were the only team not to lose to them. They didn't beat them. They just tied them twice. But anyway, they were like the third best team in the whole league for that amount of time, the third best attendance, etc. So it was assumed that Buffalo was going to be brought into the fold, but the vote was supposed to be unanimous among the owners, and the vote was 9-4, and it didn't happen because those 4 votes against were led by Chicago owner George Halas. Because for some reason he had held a grudge against Buffalo, and I can't even find out the reason why because they were benefiting from that Staley swindle back in 1921, but for some reason that's the reason that George Halas didn't want a Buffalo team coming into the league at that time. And so they brought in the Baltimore Colts at that time, which promptly folded after one season and then were reignited. It was a different ownership group, but they were brought back in 1953. So the original Buffalo Bills were basically screwed over by
the
Bills
Chicago could have been in that. But they could have been in the original NFL through that original run rather than Ralph having to start them with the AFL.
Right.
And through that path. I had no idea. I didn't know that they had a chance to come in through that path and would have been there, which brings into play, it's possible that their 64 and 65 AFL championships could have been in the NFL and could be more recognized as NFL championships.
Well, at least they would have had 10
It also makes it
to
weird.
possibly win the title even before then.
Right. And it also makes it weird how little they've played with like that type of a connection. The fact that they've only played 17 times since the teams have been around.
Yeah, when you mentioned that
weird.
Wednesday night, that blew me away. 17 is so crazy low.
All I'm hearing is that we've been Super Bowl champions this whole time.
Yeah. I agree. Real quick, before we bring on anyone else with thoughts and stuff like that, there is a chance that I got to just like cut this short and get out. I'm seeing multiple reports of people around here losing power. Michael just lost power, and I'd have to go fire up my generator and get shit going for my family. So I don't want to do that. But so if the lights go out, I'm going to cut this thing. And just a fair warning, Thomas, I hope you are not out. Are you out delivering mail, my man?
Hello, welcome to your weekly Weatherman on the Ground mailman report.
No.
Oh, God.
Yes, I am, in fact. It is fucking windy, yo. Yo, it is ridiculous. Sorry for my language. It is very, mailman. I already lost a bundle of mail. I had to go collect it off the ground because it went flying through the air. Yeah. I'll say this for anybody that is listening, and the wind is already really bad and it's cold. If you don't have to travel, don't. Like, legitimately, don't travel. There's stuff they've already sent out reports of trees going down all over the place. There's in the city of Rochester, they don't have garages, so there's garbage cans. Those things are flying through the air, like, flying Walendas. It's pretty ugly, and it's only supposed to get worse. But I will say, I'm intrigued about this game this weekend. I don't know why people are so scared. I know Justin Fields is talented, and I'm not going to, back from when he was on Elite 11 with Trevor Lawrence, he was very talented then too. I think the Bills are going to have a pretty easy day. I know the weather's going to be crap, but I think the Bills defense, Equanimeous Equinemius St. Brown's not playing, and yeah, they're getting Khalil Brown back. But outside of that, they've got Khalil Brown and Justin Fields. That's it. They really don't have much of an offense beyond those two at that point. I think they should be pretty fine.
Montgomery, I think, is better than he gets credit for. He reminds me a lot of Devin Singletary, both in like play style and sort of being underrated.
For sure, but I think with Khalil Herbert coming back, I think they're going to lean pretty heavily on him. And I'll be honest with you, with Matt Milano playing, and I think Jordan Phillips looks like he's trending in the right direction. I think they should be fine. I think when you see Matt Milano and Jordan Poyer in the game plan, generally speaking, they do pretty decently. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a gap between not thinking they're fine, which of course I do, and how much more comfortable I would be if this was being played in a dome or in 60 degrees and sunny, where I think they would boat race them, and I think we'd be talking about like a 45-13 kind of game. So it's just the fact that we're introducing some variants that I don't love, where weird stuff can happen, because now you're talking about not talent, you're talking about, does one of the punt snaps go weird? Do we get some weird bounce that, hey, we already have the worst fumble luck in the NFL. Does something go weird, and then all of a sudden we get something that wouldn't normally be introduced here on
or
a team
gust.
A
gust floats a ball that shouldn't be floated.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the other part we have to think about is Justin Fields has been dinged up quite a bit this season, and it's going to be, I think they said like -10, -15 in real feel, even -20 potentially. That's a difference between just getting hit normally and like bone shattering cold. Like,
but
that
concern
step
out for a moment.
That concern.
Yeah, you lay a lick on him, and I'm sure Matt Milano and Jordan Poyer and even Jordan Phillips, man, you get a good hit on him, that's going to take a toll on him, and he's going to think about running more than he normally would because he doesn't want to get hit.
In this type of weather, though, I will say, like, yes, he also doesn't want to get hit, but my concern is actually those three guys you mentioned is they have been banged up all year too, and they're going to be out there playing in this type of cold, and maybe given a big hit doesn't hurt as much, but they're going to be getting hit and be on the hard ground that we talked about is going to be a killer. And so like those guys that are nursing injuries and now because of a short travel week, maybe they missed a treatment here. Like this is the time of year where everyone's hurt, everyone's getting treatments, everyone's up against the clock to get those treatments in time for the game. Every hour matters. And so there's my concern is like, on the schedule in a perfect world, this is a not a huge weather game where you have the chance to rest some of those guys if there was a condition like this. But you're playing for home field now, and this game matters. And even in this weather with guys on injury, you feel like probably a little pressure to play and not be as conservative as you were in September with some injuries, right?
Yeah, and these guys are, well, they're basically going to be numb, right, from the cold. Like, they're not going to feel that much, but your point is taken about the hard field and everything.
Right.
It's going to suck. How much would you need? Not only would I not pay for tickets, how much would you need to be paid to go sit in Soldier Field, the windiest stadium in the league, in -20 degree, wind chill temperatures to watch this game? Because mine would involve a comma.
I would want like a player's game check.
I would need to be like legitimately compensated to go sit and watch this.
Yeah, I want like a top 10 NFL game check.
I would go for a free ticket and airfare, honestly. Like,
it sounds a monster.
I mean, it's an experience, right? If it's really
no, dude. I don't know how many cold games you've been to. I have been to.
Chris, did you go to the playoff game last year? Because if that game would tell you this game is not going to be a fun time.
I've been to plenty of cold games.
Okay, because even when it's like
South Bend winters are no joke. And used to go to the Bills games quite a bit in the winter, but
I can't keep my feet warm to save my life on that concrete. There's like nothing I can do, and I'd be miserable in anything that they're talking about in Chicago this weekend.
Yeah, there's definitely
you can get upper deck tickets for $5.
Oh, seriously.
I'll buy your ticket, Chris, if you'll go out there. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
No, there's no way. There's no way I'd even attempt to get there at this point. But
Well, I was just gonna say, I would the ticket isn't the hard part. I would take up a collection for the airfare if I thought a plane could get.
You're not
Chicago.
getting anybody to fly. You'd have to get like some idiot in a prop plane that's willing to risk his life.
You could film a movie in a prop plane.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
So no team has a distinct advantage, though, right? From the weather, aside from the fact that we have a quarterback with a cannon arm and accuracy. I'm not sure that Fields has the running prowess, which helps.
He's got a big arm. He does have a big arm.
He does, but he doesn't have
They're
the
missing their
accuracy.
entire offensive line.
I was just going to say the biggest difference here is they can't run any precision running plays because they're now into like their third string right guard and their second string left guard.
Yeah.
And they're missing a bunch of pieces in some different spots. So getting Khalil Herbert sounds good from like a fantasy football perspective, but they already had a rough offensive line and they just lost two of their best offensive linemen who were already not that great. And now they're going to miss two more of them. They're going to be hurting.
So, Greg, you're not anticipating another New England Patriots windstorm game where the other quarterback only throws 3 passes?
Well, now the throwing 3 passes is not crazy because I do think Justin Fields could. I'm not even joking. I think Fields could have 20+ rushing carries in this game. I think they could run the ball 40 times in this game.
He only throws three passes every game, anyways.
Yeah, they already throw the fewest in the NFL, but they don't have that Patriots offensive line that the Patriots had last year to try to execute that. So, I'm confident we're going to miss more than one tackle on Justin Fields. It's going to be frustrating.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
I don't think that we're going to shut them out. Fields is a electric athlete out in space.
He'll get like a 40-yarder.
Oh, yeah. He's going to break more than one run that frustrates us.
Yeah.
And that's the reason it won't be a shutout. But they're also going to have, no joke, they might have 5 3-and-outs, maybe 6 3-and-outs during the game.
They do not have the talent level on either side of the ball to consistently do the long drive thing and stop it or score long drives. They can get those flash plays. They can score 17, 20 points. And if their defense can kind of keep you back there with some big explosive plays, that's their recipe. But yeah, I think the Bills have the ability to do long sustained drives. We've seen it. And to bend but don't break on the other side and force a team to execute in the red zone. And I don't think they have the ability to execute that many plays against a good defense.
And Fields is one of those guys 100%. That will make you look silly in the open field. I mean, it's guys try to take an angle on him or try to tackle him, and they just don't. It looks like he looks kind of like an alien out there. Like people don't really understand how to even try to tackle him sometimes.
Dude, how fast he is for being 6'3", 230. Like the fact that he's that thick and then runs that fast, it really does confuse you. You don't take the natural angles that you would because your instincts don't tell you that, oh, this guy can beat me to the corner. And that's going to happen tomorrow because when you add that into an elite athlete, and anytime you get into these conditions, the guy who knows what direction he's going and when he's going to cut has a huge advantage over the other guy who doesn't. And so he's going to break one of those.
He's got more, Josh can get up to the same speeds Justin Fields can run at in those upper teens, 20s. Josh can get up there going in open field, but it takes him a little longer to get there.
Build up speed,
I don't think there's not a lot of guys that can take angles, no matter if you're taking a good angle or not, that he can't beat you on the edge. When I'm watching and how he breaks the pocket and gets you just see defensive ends, fast athletic guys just chasing at shoelaces. Similar to how you see Josh, but he's just got like a second more in that acceleration to get to those spots. It's tough, man.
Quick shout out to Morgan Halstead, who's listening in here. She says she's going to be at the game wearing battery-operated socks and mittens and many layers.
Hey,
honestly, Morgan, be safe. That's crazy.
I know a lot of people. I saw some people driving out there, beating the weather to get there, man. Like that's dedication, guys.
Kristen has her mission this year to go to every game, and I thought this was going to be the one that was going to break it. And God bless her, she drove across Ohio yesterday to go to the game.
Wild, man.
Yeah, I saw like 35 miles per hour.
I hope you guys all have like snowmobile gear.
So I would be so bundled up that I couldn't see the field. Like I would have so much gear on that I couldn't like visibly watch the game. I don't.
So you're basically the
Maybe
little brother in a Christmas
like
Story.
ski goggles. Oh,
I mean, your
real.
eyeballs
I would
might
be
freeze in this weather.
I'm just thinking about it. Like I would need like ski goggles.
Yeah.
To be able to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's gonna be painful. Like nose freezing. Nah, I don't want anything to do with this, man. I've got to go. I'm gonna probably do this another 10-15 minutes here, guys. And then I got to go like shovel and check on it. And it's going to be miserable. I'm going to bundle up as much as possible and still be cold to my core. There's nothing good about it. I read a book about Ernest Shackleton this past summer about his like exploration through the Antarctic. This is what I visualized pretty much.
Buffalo Bills Reddit's listening to. It says they're surprised with all the frostbite warnings and stuff that the game wasn't just moved somewhere else.
Well,
honestly,
not even moving it. The way that the storm is supposed to go through, and the fact that the Bills play the following Monday night, I'm actually surprised they didn't just move it to Monday night. They could have just done a doubleheader with 2 Monday night games, and it really wouldn't have had that much schedule impact. Right. So that's the one I'm surprised in.
I'm not, Greg. You know what it was. Everyone's going to be in their homes on New Year's Eve, or on Christmas Eve, and NFL wants football games on that day.
Well, but that's already the stocked game, the stocked day. Like there's 12 other games that day, so that they easily could have moved it and still had a full schedule.
To that point, though, aren't there other games that are affected by this storm?
Yeah, I mean, there's a game in Cleveland tomorrow. At the same time, that's a disaster. My wife was just looking.
Yeah, but nobody wants to watch the Cleveland Browns play.
To that point, she found somebody that had posted tickets and originally asked like $130 or $150, and then marked them down to $30, and they still hadn't sold, and they're just going to have to give them away.
Yeah, for sure.
On the idea that they might move the game because of potential frostbite, I think Sal Capaccio was on the morning show earlier today. He checked into this. The NFL doesn't have a line, like it gets down to a certain wind chill or a certain temperature. They have no policy for that. And if you recall your history, back in 1981, the Chargers and Cincinnati Bengals playing the AFC Championship game in Cincinnati, 59 below wind chill, at least as it was measured back then. I think the temperature was -9 degrees, winds were gusting like 30, 40 miles an hour. I think, who was it? Kellen Winslow says he still has a frostbite in his big toe, even years after that game.
Just because there's no that is annoying to me, because you're supposed to have, this is a multi-billion-dollar organization which is supposed to be led by intelligent people. You don't need a line to be able to make a decision, right? Like that's where corporate bullshit kind of is annoying.
Yeah,
where it's
just
like, well, nobody defined it for us.
Yeah, just because there's no policy doesn't mean you can't say, hey, it's for the greater good. And again, money-wise, the Chicago Bears would make more money if you put the game on Monday night, because more people would show up and spend concession money.
And it's a huge market. Yes. Chicago's a huge market, even though they're not good. They have a young QB. People want to watch it.
Put it as a true doubleheader. Give it a Monday night 5 o'clock kickoff and make it a true doubleheader.
And the Bills are the most likable team in America, and so clearly everyone wants to watch them, right? No bias. No bias here.
I know Rachel Bush is an advocate of not playing this.
She's never a fan of the snow.
Yeah, I saw her tweet. I am not a fan of those guys playing in this. But I think it's conceivable they could still make a decision to do something, right? I mean, it's not outlandish at this point yet.
No, I think you'd be in a spot. I mean, the Bills traveled out there not planning on 3 days worth of staying, which is,
and now you're making families stay out of Christmas.
It all comes down to logistics and if they can find hotels last minute, which they probably can.
Yeah, in this kind of weather, it's possible. It's not off the table, but it would be complicated. All right, anybody else that's out there that wants to come up and ask a question before Aaron has to wrap things?
See Joe DeRosa. He's trying to
He got in just in time.
Yeah, it's football, though. I mean, it's going to be cold, but
they'll be okay.
They'll be all right.
The game is going to be played. We're all going to survive and move on, and it'll just be a fun
Hopefully
story.
We'll have power to watch.
That's a good point. I mean, they don't have receivers or a line. I had on Lauren Cox and Locked On Bears. He wasn't feeling comfortable. Like, they're playing for draft picks. Like, besides Fields, I mean, that team's pretty. They don't have DBs. I mean, that team's pretty poor. Like, they have a linebacker. They're missing 2 middle linebackers.
They've got some young pieces and like Brisker and Kyler Gordon, but they're rookies. They've got some developing to do. But they're showing. I mean, Gordon's been showing some flashes.
Wilder's supposed to be their guy that covers receivers. He's out. Like,
losing Sanborn. They're in a rough spot. This is a dark period for that Bears team.
But I will give them credit. My brother brought it up. They're not giving up. They gave up under Nagy. There was no direction. I do think Eberflus at least has. It's a bunch of rotational guys. They have an issue that they just don't have a good roster. But I think guys are playing for jobs. They're playing to put film on, and it doesn't appear anyone's just giving in on the season or trying to pack it in, which is easy to do this time of year when your record's a 3-win team, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, you love to see them still playing hard. And
we said it on Wednesday night. The last week's game against the Eagles was absolute catnip for Sean McDermott to wave that in front of the team, be like, "Hey, look, guys, they're not giving up. You guys better take this serious. This isn't a trap game. You can't look ahead to the Bengals. Look, they're playing tough." Right. It was perfect for McDermott.
They'd love nothing more than to have Buffalo come to town and upset them in a home stadium in terrible weather. I mean, that's a team culture building win sort of right there.
That's your win of the year, right?
Yep.
Like, pin that on in your locker room. Joe popped in, and then also Bill's Reddit. Let's get to you guys here, because then I do got to split. Joe, what's happening, man?
What's up, guys? How we doing today?
What's up, Joe?
Not the best.
Trying to stay warm.
I was gonna pop on just a couple things, but first and foremost, just to wish all you guys safe and happy holiday. I know that your area got absolutely blasted, and I'm just hoping you guys, make it through safe and sound. No worries. Obviously, all of you and your families, I can understand how rough it is. Just wishing you all the best on that front.
Remind us, where are you from, Jay? Where are you at, Joe?
I'm born and raised in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I currently live in Manhattan. And
Gotcha.
Reporting, I guess I'll do my weather report. It's a more avant-garde version of what you guys are dealing with, in that the city decided to be almost 60 degrees. However, we have a coastal flood warning here, which I live on an island. So we're going to hope that doesn't happen, because I got to get back to Poughkeepsie today for Christmas. So we'll see what happens.
There are people on the west bank of Lake Erie who had to evacuate because of worries that there'd be flooding there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when
be careful traveling, man.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, right now I'm walking literally right next to the river, because my walk back to my apartment is like on the water. So my feet are dry. That's good. Hopefully they don't get wet on the way back, but we'll see in a couple hours. But just again, wishing you guys safety. I know I've never been from Buffalo, but I do understand the temperature. But what I wanted to get at with the points, because I was listening on my way back. So yes, I understand the concern for Fields and Bears running game, even with the injuries, because Justin Fields has kind of come to his own in year 2. Obviously, they're 3-11, but to me, record doesn't matter. I'm looking at your players. I'm looking at your matchup, and Fields match up well against us. But I also think we got to look at it as like, I think Allen poses the same threat to the Bears defense if we do decide to have him go. I know there's some concern about his elbow from the week, limited early, full practice, but you don't accidentally get a limited designation unless there was some soreness. But I do think that this team knows what they're playing for. You have the division here. If you win it, you have the potential to get home field all throughout the playoffs. And I also think just our defense being mostly healthy is enough to at least handle Fields, Herbert, and Montgomery, mainly because you're talking about a different game plan than last week. There was a lot of concern about how the rushing defense performed against Miami, but I viewed the way they strategized against Miami as how they did against Kansas City, where they knew they had 2 barn-burning receivers, speed threats in the slot and on the outside. So you have to account for that and drop as many people as you can back into coverage, and you're almost inviting them to run on you with light boxes, which is what I think they did and why it worked. And even though, last week, I remember people saying they were confident in shutting that down because our rushing defense was good, I think Miami saw that, took advantage of it, and there just wasn't enough personnel to execute. I was seeing some blocks where you had 2 D tackles with 2 separate double blocks, and I was like, yeah, all right, it's going to be that kind of game. But for this week, I think you're talking about We know what the Bears' game plan is probably going to be: a decimated receiving core, a brutally decimated offensive line. They can't really get creative. I think you can load that box up all day and bring everybody up front.
No, you're spot on.
And that's
Yeah, you're spot on. They absolutely can lean forward, and if they do have a line that can hold up on a play action, and you get beat over the top, God bless them with that win.
Exactly.
I think they're going to gamble on that all day.
100%.
Yeah, congrats. Do that over and over again. Good luck.
Yeah.
Get one or two of those.
Right. And I think I'm sorry, just one final thing, but I think it's just like, I trust Allen in this weather. I trust him in the cold. I think it's just going to be too much of a matchup for him. I think they'll hang, at least in the beginning. They're not a pushover by any means, even with the injury. But yeah, I mean, we know what you're going to do. They're probably going to miss a couple tackles because they're very over-aggressive in that front. But I just see them being able to shut it down. And once they do, it's going to be – it reminds me a lot of the Denver matchup a couple of years ago where we had to go in and win the division. You know, they made it kind of a game in the beginning, but they pulled away because they just took advantage of some of their mistakes. I think it's going to be something like that. Nothing's a gimme, but yeah. I foresee that being the outcome. I think it's going to be a big Bills win.
Lauren thinks Milano's going to harness his Pro Bowl snub into not missing tackles tomorrow.
I like it. I respect it.
I do like that. Bills Reddit. Big fan of Bills Reddit. Love that account if you're not following. What's happening?
Thanks. How's it going, guys?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Bills Reddit.
So I guess I would just want to preface this by saying, in my opinion, the most underrated position in football is center. So obviously praying for Mitch Morse and everything. I guess I just wanted to ask, we kind of have like a dealer's choice at center between Ryan Bates and Van Roten. So do you have any indication on how that's going to play out, or what the preference is between who lines up at center versus who's going to go into the right guard spot?
So yeah. I'm annoyed. I'll let Greg answer, but I'm annoyed because I didn't want to have to think about this.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up, ruining my day. Appreciate it.
Yeah, unfortunately, so there's a couple things. One, in our staff chat, we've gone through a couple different things. One, there's actually been some video. Mitch Morse was there in the offensive line Christmas setting, so he
can do lights.
It's not the worst case scenario. Yeah. So, it seems like he's still there with the team, going through all the different stuff. So I'm at least going to take that as an indication that he wants to come back. We'll see if that means he can or not. But the fact that he is with the team, able to be in rooms with lights, and looks like he wants to still play is a huge positive for me versus what the worst case scenario could be. And then obviously, Eric and some of the folks with our team have built relationships and connections with things, and we obviously we're not a breaking news kind of company. We do analysis and react to things. But I will say, I think we feel pretty confident this weekend will be Bates at center and Van Roten at guard. I was a little surprised. I was kind of hoping we'd see Botger at guard, and I don't know if that means they're easing him back in. But I will say, for someone who hasn't been a huge fan of Van Roten, he played pretty well against Miami. For the fact that he was already stepping in to start at a position and then had to switch positions mid-game, he held up better than I expected, and I paid attention to him on the rewatch more specifically, and he actually had a pretty solid game when you talk about who their defensive line is. I was pleased with him. So, again, we don't need it to be some dominant game. We just need him not to be a problem, and I think the Chicago defensive line is the kind of survivable.
Yeah, you got to remember, they've got one of the worst defensive lines in the league. I mean, they're paying more to guys who aren't even on the team anymore than they are to the defensive line.
Right. Yeah, that's right. All right, we are coming up. I'm going to do a 2-minute warning here. So we got no new speakers coming in, but anyone that is a speaker that is on, any final things you want to talk about, get out there. Now's your time. Come on in.
No, I'll echo some of the sentiments earlier. Just hope everybody's safe, is able to enjoy time with their family without losing power, and is able to have a good, safe weekend. We can enjoy the game together tomorrow, and hopefully everybody has power to watch the game, and then we can move past this nasty storm and get back to normal. But I just hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and is able to stay safe and warm.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
I was I was just going to say that's pretty much exactly what I would have said, right? Like, hopefully everybody is getting some time to spend with friends and family, and staying safe. And I mean, I think that there will be some good football for us to watch, and hopefully we'll be able to watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel good about the game overall. That said, if some crazy thing happened and it didn't, this one gets chalked up as an L, like it's not the end of the world.
Oh yeah, no, it could be a really weird game. I do hope we get to watch it. Again, I echo the sentiments of both of you guys that, great Christmas for everyone, and anyone traveling, I hope they do get in safely here. It's nasty out there, so stay safe. Hope we don't lose power. Hope we can communicate and be there for the post-game show after this game. And hopefully we're enjoying kind of what Joe talked about is just a nice kind of easy second half celebratory victory over this Christmas holiday. And Chris and I will be with you for the post-game show, and Greg probably pop in a little buzzed off his eggnog over there. And, hopefully it'll be a celebratory.
I promise.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I'm kind of rooting for Chicago, and not in this game, obviously, but overall, like it's cool to see that they've got a guy at quarterback now who is doing something, right? I mean, they're like the Bills. Chicago has been in quarterback purgatory for so long.
I've said this. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, so I'm a little bit biased here, but I've said all along, like I do think leagues are better when Chicago Bears are good, when the big market teams, New York Giants are good, New York Knicks, Chicago Bulls. I do think it's a better for the league when you have some of those other markets that have good teams. It's not good when they're the worst teams in their division.
Yeah, for sure. Kevin, did you want to say something? I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Oh, no, I was just saying, the Merriest Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody out there.
You too, man.
I feel obnoxiously confident in this one. I don't always. My pregame show or my show, I always have it a one-score game. I just don't feel confident with this Bears roster, particularly right now for me. Like they don't have receivers, DB. We talked about it all. O-line. They have one player that is going to be good. I like Fields. I don't know if anyone ever watched QB1 on Netflix. He is one of the focal points. You can see him through high school as a senior. So that's pretty cool to watch him. I know, my wife checked him out. Was able to see some footage of him kind of developing, which was cool. And it was cool to see those guys that actually do make it to the league. Like Fromm was on it. So that's awesome. If you guys are looking for some something to watch over the weekend, it's a pretty cool series on Netflix. But, personally, I just don't think they have enough talent. We had on, like I said, the Bears guy. He wasn't feeling very good about it. But I mean, I think the Bills are used to these environments. They're used to this weather. They played in the cold in New England. And I just, more or less, guys, I just hope everyone stays safe in Buffalo, too. Like, we're in Rochester. It's 30-mile-an-hour winds. We got a tail end of what you guys have, as I think Thomas said earlier. So we may or may not lose power, but here it's definitely mild. So I just hope all of you guys stay super safe and warm. Aaron, I know you mentioned a generator, so I hope that's going to be fired up for you if you need it.
Okay, right. Hopefully it works if we do need it. Yeah, man. But anyways, I'm going to get running here, get back to, I can hear my wife's trying to wrangle these two kids. They're getting restless. So I'm going to get everybody outside shoveling. So everybody stay safe out there. Have a wonderful weekend. Travel safe, all that stuff. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon about an awesome Bills victory this weekend. And go Bills, guys.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.